no matter the location. From O-A-K-L-A to L-B, I'm a Raider.
Good morning, Raider Nation. We have some breaking news. The Las Vegas Raiders have gone out and signed wide receiver John Brown. There were reports last night that the Raiders were getting close to going out and making a move at the wide receiver position. There were a lot of names thrown out there, but the name that a lot of people weren't talking about was former Bills wide receiver John Brown. Now, when you really think about the reason why that this deal went down, first off, we'll hit the terms. 1 year, $3.75 million. The deal, it can get up to $5.5 million. Now, this is obviously going to be incentive-based, but the biggest reason here is the Raiders were looking for a replacement for Nelson Agholor. Last season, Agholor came in on a 1-year prove-it deal for $1.05 million. Had an absolute breakout season where he put up 47 catches, over 800 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He then goes and signs with the New England Patriots for 2 years, $26 million. It was just way out of what the Raiders were trying to go out and pay for a receiver. Now here's the thing. You go out and bring in John Brown, who's 5'11", 178, age 30, college, Pittsburgh State. If anybody can go in the comments section and tell me where the heck Pittsburgh State is, you're not allowed to use Google. I'm going to give you a shout-out on next week's show. But hey, 33 catches, 458 yards, 3 touchdowns, along of 46. He was really the number one receiver for the Bills in 2019. You might also be able to say a guy like Cole Beasley was there as well. But then as soon as Stephon Diggs came in with this Buffalo offense, he took over. Diggs, 129 catches. That led the National Football League. And for a 30-year-old receiver who really got his start with Arizona and had some really solid years, also battled some injuries, but it's a pretty interesting overall offer. And I'll let you guys know how I feel about it in just a second, but I want you guys to get in the grade first. Grade the signing, 1 year, $3.75, up to $5.5 million. So go down in the comments section right now and type A, B, C, D, or F. I want to know how y'all are feeling about this move for John Brown. It's a B- grade for me, and when I think about all the grades that I always do here on the show, A is amazing, B is good, C is average, D is, well, bad, and then F is failing. The reason why I'm going to give it a B- grade is because the Raiders, they didn't want to go out and spend big. They were interested in Marvin Jones. He was actually the top veteran receiver they were going after. Marvin Jones signs elsewhere, and now their concentration went to John Brown. They never wanted to spend big-time money. The contract that they offered Nelson Agholor, 3 years, $22 million. That just goes to show you that they really weren't trying to ball out at the wide receiver position. So now you go out, you get John Brown at a pretty respectable offer, I'll say, and you're still able to find a veteran receiver. The other reason why I thought it was above average pickup, not just the money, I will actually say that I think he's actually going to be a pretty good fit here for the Las Vegas Raiders. So he's still a speedy receiver. They want to still be able to stretch the field. Agholor averaged 17.8 yards per catch last year. I'm not saying John Brown's going to do that. The other thing that Brown can do that Agholor, I'll say, struggled with at times was really going over the middle of the field, and that's where I think Brown can add an extra element of surprise, if you will, to this offense, being able to run those underneath routes. He can run them just kind of like a guy like Hunter Renfrow. He's going to be able to also pick up those clutch first downs. A smart route runner who I do believe is going to work well with DC. Now, what does this signing mean for the receivers that are already on the Las Vegas Raiders? Henry Ruggs is going to have to be the wide receiver one. You can also look to the name below that. It's Brian Edwards. But I do anticipate with them making this move, if they don't go out and sign any other receivers in free agency, you're going to see John Brown as the wide receiver too. Do they want Brian Edwards and Ruggs to probably step up? Yes, they absolutely do. However, the fact that they are going with a veteran receiver, to me, tells me that they're going to give him run right away, and he's going to work in with a guy like Hunter Renfrow. So the question that I want to ask all of y'all is this, okay? Will the Raiders go out and sign another wide receiver? Scroll on down, type Y for yes, type N for no. I actually don't know if they're going to go out and sign another one. I know a lot of people were out there saying, hey, what about Juju Smith-Schuster? Hey, what about a guy like Curtis Samuel? Or, Kenny Galladay's still out there. We'll see what they ultimately end up doing. I would be pretty shocked, though, if the only move that they make on offense is John Brown. Raider Nation, seriously, hit that big red button that says subscribe. It is bright and early on the West Coast. I am filming this video at 7 a.m. Pacific time. I literally ran into the studio today. Shout out to Brett, shout out to Tom for helping me get this video out ASAP Rocky. But I don't want you to miss anything. It's going to be fun this entire offseason. I mean, free agency, technically it starts today. So until we can actually get free agency to start on March 15th, when it actually should start, free agency, it starts today. We're going to be keeping you guys updated on free agency, draft, literally anything that happens. I promise you, you won't find another channel that keeps you as up to date as the Raiders Report. So we also had some news that happened late last night, and I was like, man, do I have to come back into the studio? And decided to wait a little bit, and I'm glad I did, because this morning we got an update from Ian Rappaport on the contract details from Nicholas Morrow. Morrow is one of these amazing players, I think, in terms of what I would teach my son if you were going to make it to the NFL, or if you didn't make it to the NFL. A UDFA who worked his freaking tail off. He agreed to a 1-year, $5 million deal with $4.5 million guaranteed. Now, what does that mean exactly? Obviously, he can hit the free agent market next season. A lot of teams were interested in him, at least in terms of needing a linebacker. The team that I actually thought was going to swoop in and take Morrow off the free agency market was the Washington football team. His biggest improvement, though, this past season, and it's actually not even close, was his ability to cover. And he was a big-time help for Corey Littleton, who just really didn't step up and play well. The thing that I absolutely love that I read here about Nicholas Morrow was the day that the Raiders hired Gus Bradley. He knew he was going to be a free agent, but he wanted to return to the Raiders. And the day that they hired him, he picked up Gus Bradley film, he picked up the playbook, and he started studying because he wanted to understand the concepts. He wanted to understand the linebacker position because he realistically knew, hey, man, if I don't do this, they're not getting rid of Nick. They're not getting rid of Corey. I'm the guy on the block. So 78 tackles last year, 3 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss, a forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. So let me know here. Rate the Morrow deal, 1 year, $5 million with $4.5 million guaranteed. I want you to do it on a scale from 1 to 100. 1 being it's the worst deal you ever seen. It almost would be like if Adam Schefter's tweet went through where it was 3 years, $455 million for Shaq Griffin. That's a 1 on the scale. 100 is basically if you could go out and get a big-time player like Yannick for, I don't know, 2 years and like $5 million. I'll say this. I'm thinking it's probably going to be around a little bit of a 75, 80. I'm glad they were able to bring back a player that knows the system, also a pretty solid special teams player. Now, if you bleed silver and black, this shirt, it's going to be near and dear to your heart. It's Raiders Against the World, y'all. Chatsports.com/RaidersWorld. Anytime we show this shirt, it sells very, very well because I actually believe that Raider Nation truly, honestly believes this. And I don't know, I've watched some documentaries, I've seen some things, and I'm starting to believe it. I watch football games, the NFL refs, maybe we should wear this on game days. Bottom line is this, though. We find cool deals, we find cool shirts, and if you like it, go ahead and get yourself set up. It's in the comments, it's in the description, chatsports.com/RaidersWorld. So let's now look at the updated depth chart here for the Las Vegas Raiders. Obviously, you have Corey Littleton, Nick Kwiatkowski. I am curious to see if Nicholas Morrow, who apparently reports are that he could actually slide into the Mike linebacker role, which then opens up the ability for Nick Kwiatkowski to maybe get after the quarterback. It also opens up the ability for the Raiders to still go out and draft a linebacker. When I still think of the top 2 linebackers that I think the Raiders could draft at pick number 17, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, type joke in the comments section. Maybe a guy like Zaven Collins from Tulsa still there. Even potentially another edge rusher in Azeez Ojulari. So some names to honestly think about. Just because the Raiders re-signed Morrow, that does not mean that they're not going to bring in one of those top 2 guys. I will say this, though. The Christian Barmore stock keeps on going up and up and up. Now, if you made it this far in the video, y'all, hey, I appreciate you. Always remember that we're going to be keeping you guys updated here. If you want to talk to me more about the Raiders, if you want to get to know even more about how I feel about the John Brown signing or the Nicholas Morrow re-sign, you can always hit me up on IG. It's at Mitchell Renz 365.